So you're seeing practically the same thing as what the dev team is currently working on back at Obsidian. We're starting off in the town of Fallbrook, which is on the world of Monarch, which we were just talking about a little bit before. And one of the things you're going to see throughout this demo, and that Leonard talked about a little bit, was one of the things that we at Obsidian are very passionate about is the idea of player choice and giving the players the tools through their actions and choices and quests and dialogues and how they build their character through leveling to really drive the story forward with their choices and make the game their own. And we kind of think that what our job is at Obsidian is to create those dynamic characters with backstories and interesting dialogue and create tense, morally gray, complex situations, and we put the player in that, and through their choices, they either save the colony, destroy it, or just kill everyone, like a lot of our players like to do. So the world, the town of Fallbrook is kind of a haven for vice on this world. Whether it's drinking, drugs, gambling, whatever your vice is, you can buy it here in Fallbrook, and it's for sale by the Sublight Salvage and Shipping Corporation, which is a totally legitimate business and not at all a front for organized crime. So no need to worry about that at all. The town of Fallbrook is run by a woman named Catherine Malin. What we're seeing here is Malin's House of Hospitality, though there is a disclaimer that hospitality is not guaranteed. We're here trying to raise some funds. There's a larger goal we're on the world for, and we're going to see if Catherine might have a job for us. So,
Catherine's great, ain't she? She'll pull you out of the sulfur, so long as you don't mind being in her debt.
Come for vice or virtue? Because we only sell one
so
here.
when we first come and start talking to Catherine, obviously we're new to this world, new to this area. She doesn't really know too much about us, and she's not going to trust us right off the bat.
I do have a delicate
and this is
matter
kind of showing, basically, as you develop
asked.
your character, you unlock different
But how
dialogue
am I to know
options
whether
based
you're
on the
alive,
skills and
if
attributes
not
that you
fully
use to develop your
trustworthy?
character. Some things, maybe you, if you put points into being able to intimidate people, you might be able to strong-arm Catherine and get her to work with you more directly. But she does run a criminal organization, so she's not that easy to intimidate. But we're a pretty charming bastard, so we can use that to get her on our side.
Against my better judgment, I do believe you.
Again, based on how you develop
There's
your
a Borscht
character,
factory
different
on up
options
the
will
way,
unlock for
run
you
by
in
a man who calls
conversations.
himself the
And
King.
in some cases,
Clive
entirely new
Lumber,
branches of quests will be
insufferable
available only if you have the right
That
skills
aside,
to
it's
access
a business
them.
right
And in some
for the
cases,
pluck.
entire quests will only be
I
available
want it.
based on the choices that
Clear
you
as
made
that.
previously in the game. Now, what Catherine's basically telling
Stars,
us
I
here
hope
is
so.
she's got a
Clive
problem on this
Lumber,
world. There
the
is a guy named
self-proclaimed
Clive
Borscht King of
Lumberg
Monarch,
who is running a
is
factory
swimming in
that
profit
is making a profit.
and drowning in his
and
ego.
She is running a criminal
He's
organization.
making
She
the
wants a
only
cut of
meal
that
to be
profit.
had this side
and this
of
guy's
Monarch,
not playing along.
and I'm tired of
obviously
ponying
that
up
can't
for my
stand.
dinner. I
So
want that Borscht
she's giving us
factory
a few
owner
ideas
dead or
about how
alive.
we can go through and resolve this problem
And you're the
in her
soon-to-be
favor.
handsomely paid fucker who's gonna get it for me.
We are an M-rated game, so there's a few
If you got
some
brass
salty
knockers,
language
you
here
can
and there
shoot your
throughout
way through the front
the
gate.
game.
If you don't fancy getting shot to shit, you can try
So one of the
asking
things
Duncan
about our
for a
conversations is that we
disguise.
try very much to
Might be another
give our
way
players
in,
options.
assuming you're
If you're the type of player
courageous
who
enough to
wants to
trek the
skip through
sewers.
dialogue and just
Boy,
right to
fine.
the run and gun gameplay, you
Hit
absolutely
'em
can
where
do
it
that.
hurts.
But if you
In his
choose
gut
to
or his
explore through the
production lines ought to
conversations,
make do.
use your skills, and talk through the options, you can often get a lot of hints about how to
Sometimes the
approach
simplest
quests
solution
and how
is
to
the
resolve
sweetest.
situations that you maybe
I
not be
don't
able
give
to
a
get
whit about
just
the
by going with
method
a
or
more
the
direct
means.
approach.
Just the end. It'll be more than good when you're finished.
Okay.
Maybe not for Clive, but for me and you, I'm sure.
So Catherine's given us kind of the lowdown of the situation, and she's given us a new side quest. One of the things
So
with a
what's
lot
the
of our
plan?
quest names, we try to do plays on some classic sci-fi titles. In this case, she's given us the Slaughterhouse Clive quest. So we're making that the active quest now in order to track our progress. In order to reach the Borscht factory, which is where the Clive Lumberg, who's the self-proclaimed
there's a woman
Borscht
who
King
knows
of
what she
Monarch,
wants.
that's the
like
factory
her.
that he's running. We're going to
She's
have
fine.
to actually leave
Well,
the town of
so long
Fallbrook
as you ain't on
and
her
go
bad
through the
side.
overlands of
Then
Monarch.
she's liable to drown in the
Luckily, it's
waterfall.
not, again, not a tame or safe place to travel, but we do have some companions who are traveling with us, and we're kind of showing that, so those companions here. The first of those is Nyoka. She's a new companion that we're showing for the first time here at E3. We haven't talked much about her before. She's a native of the planet of Monarch and a big game hunter. And we also have Ellie, who is a doctor of sorts. So at least that's her history, though she's turned recently more to a life of piracy for reasons that you'll discover as you play through the game. So the two of them are going to be traveling with us, and we'll see more of their abilities later on. Now, Monarch's not safe, so we need to make sure we have the right equipment in order to deal with any problems that might arise. So we're going to show you some of the weapons we have on this character. And when we're talking about choice of the Obsidian, it's not just what dialogue options you pick or what quests you take or how you resolve those quests. Again, it's really about how you choose to develop your character and what tools you unlock to play the game the way you want to play it and drive the story forward and make it your own. On this character build, we've actually been focusing more on our technology skills, so things like engineering
Time
and
for a
science.
round of whist.
And engineering has
round of
allowed us to
whiskey.
modify
Or
our
both.
weapons and armor to basically
Drinking,
customize them to
gambling,
adhere
and
more to our own
organized
play
crime.
style. And we've been using our science skill to tinker with the level of our weapons and armor, making them more powerful so they last longer throughout the game. So if you find a weapon early on that you really love, you can use your skills to progress it along with your character and use it throughout the game. So we're now on the Monarch Overlands, and basically the history of this world is the corporate board planned on making Monarch the homeworld, the capital of the colony, and terraforming it to really be like the crown jewel in the Halcyon colony. The idea was that the terraforming process would wipe out the native plants and animals and replace them with Earth species. And that didn't work out the way they planned at all. Instead of being wiped out, the native plants and animals got a lot bigger, a lot tougher, and a lot meaner and much more aggressive. And as a result of that, the corporate board decided to abandon the planet of Monarch, along with all of the native, all the colonists who are currently living there. So, unfortunately for them, one of the corporations decided to remain behind. That was Monarch Stellar Industries, and they used a loophole in corporate law to claim the planet as their own and rename it after themselves. And that really pissed off the board because they basically lost an entire planet in this system, and they decided to embargo the world and do whatever they can to basically make life miserable for the people on this world. So what we're seeing right here, we've come across a blockade on the road, and we're seeing what we call our tactical time dilation system. Basically, your character, as Leonard mentioned, have been traveling from Earth to this colony for way longer than intended, over 70 years. As a result, you're suffering from what we call hibernation sickness, which gives the ability to kind of slow down our perception of time. It may be a side effect of brain damage, but it's a positive one. So let's look at it on the bright side there. So the great thing about this is it allows us to really slow down combat before it starts and observe our enemies and learn something about their strengths and weaknesses, and then really start off combat with a bang. So that's Nayoka again, demonstrating one of her companion abilities. So in this character, beyond just focusing on our technology skills, we've also focused on leadership, which is one of the archetypes of gameplay that we have here in the outer world. Leadership is basically where you're focusing your skills more on improving your companions, making them more stronger and more durable in combat, and less on making yourself the toughest. And because we put enough points into leadership, we've unlocked those companion abilities, which you can use from combat to combat. Like the abilities and tactical time dilation both regenerate quickly outside of combat. So looks like we found, this is a random encounter that can spawn. These are one of the native species of Monarch, the mantisaurs. Before the terraforming process, they were just a tiny little insect species, not a threat to anybody. And then of course terraforming happened and they grew giant, bigger than human beings, very, very territorial and a really tough fight. So we're gonna kind of sneak our way past there, try to avoid drawing their attention because we would not survive that fight. And come up to another blockade on the road here. Again, this is not a safe or tame area of the colony by any means. And we've got some more marauders here who've created a blockade. Because we've been putting points into our weapon skills on this character build, beyond just increasing the overall effectiveness of our weapons, we've also unlocked the ability to do location-based hits and effects while we're in tactical time dilation. So that's what we're demonstrating here. If you shoot somebody in the arm, you can maim them, prevent them being able to use whatever weapon they're holding there. If you shoot them in the head, if you don't kill them outright, you can blind an enemy. And if you shoot them in the leg, you can cripple them. So melee enemies, you can slow them down, so it takes them longer to reach you. And we're going to start off by crippling them. Or shooting them in the crotch and weakening them. That works.
Nice one.
Mark is driving them, always looking for the crotch shot. It's disturbing. So one of the great things about tactical time dilation is that for players who may be
Who's
more
ready
familiar with
for more?
RPG mechanics and aren't as comfortable with
And
FPS
we're live.
gameplay, by investing more in skills and perks that improve tactical time dilation, they can slow down the pace of combat and really make it work for them so that they can approach combat more tactically in a way that they're more familiar with. So, Mark's just showing off, the actual world of Monarch is actually a moon orbiting a gas giant named Olympus, so you're showing that off there a second ago. So we are getting close to the Borst factory here, and we're kind of getting a preview of the front gate. There's a decent number of enemies there, and if we've been focusing on our combat skills, we could probably just go in guns blazing, and this would be a combat challenge we could handle without much of a problem. We've been focusing more on other skills with this character build, so we can kind of look at some other options. When we were talking to Catherine, one of the options she gave us was the idea that you could sneak in through the sewers, which, let's go, we're going to see if we can try and find that sewer entrance here. And Mark's going to kind of take us around some of the canids that you're seeing there. That's another native species that's become very hostile and territorial. And every gamer knows the best things are found behind waterfalls, so we're going to go do that. Okay, so this is the sewer pipe entrance. You can tell by the red glow that this is actually a locked hatch. They're very secure about their sewers here at the Borst factory. Unfortunately for this character, we have not been putting points into lockpicking, so we can't actually use that to go into the build. I think the demo we ran for you, we actually went in through the sewers. Is
Yeah,
that right?
this is like different now that you're leaving.
Okay.
Ah,
So yeah,
this
basically,
factory offers the
can't go into the
loveliest
sewers with this
aromas.
character.
Like if you cook
so we can go
Borst
through the
over a
front
sulfur
gate.
pit.
Again, we don't really have the skills to go in directly to the combat. But on a previous quest, we actually picked up a device called the holographic shroud. It's kind of prototype technology that was developed for us by a scientist, actually the one that Leonard mentioned, freed us from hibernation. And the benefit of this is that it generates like a holographic disguise around our character, as long as we find the right items in the world to power it up first. So those restricted access hologram signs are kind of the visual clue to the player that this disguise is going to activate. It's not perfect, it's prototype technology, but generally enemies will be confused enough that they'll try and talk to us first before attacking.
You must be a part of the new line shift. Don't tell me you lost your key card already. A lost card's worth 2 infractions, you know.
So that's kind of what's happening here, and again, showing off that when we're in a conversation, these kind of cases with the holographic shroud, we're not attacked outright. We can try and talk our way through the situation, and based on how we put points into our character skills, we have different options. Here, we don't have the ability to really
I think I did hear something about
persuade or
that.
intimidate our way through, but
All
we can
right,
lie and
okay.
say, you know, first day on the job, we haven't gotten a key card yet. Come on, let us in. And it's simple enough that this one we can do that. Now at the bottom of the screen, you can see there's a meter that's slowly draining. Basically, our holographic shroud it's not perfect. It slowly degrades as you move around the space, so you're not able to just walk wherever you want to. There's a limited amount of time that the disguise will be sustained for. And it also affects your companions, as you saw there. They actually got holographic armor applied to them that makes them look like they fit into the world the same way you do. So we have various corporate-themed products being advertised as you're loading into various areas. And we're now inside the factory looking for Clive. And again, we're seeing one of these restricted access signs. So our hologram will activate, and because this is a new area, it's had time to regenerate. So the meter is full again, and which allows us to move past this mechanical sentry, which normally would just attack us outright, but is also confused by the disguise and will just ignore us. So we're coming to one of my favorite parts of the demo. You just get to watch people's reactions as I explain what's going on here. One of the things that we think makes the Outer Worlds a very special game.
You know, the more
is one
of those
that
Spectrum bottles I
basically
drink,
combines our
the less I'm
passion
able to
for
differentiate their
choice
colors.
and reactivity with Leonard and Tim's love of dark humor and dark outlook on the life. And these are, basically we're looking at the Cysty Pig pens. And Cysty Pigs kind of embody that dark humor. They're creatures that have been engineered to produce delicious bacon-flavored tumors. Exactly. And as those tumors grow ripe and juicy, they fall off the pigs and can be harvested and turned into various Borst-related products, like Borst and beans, Borst pockets, and Borstwurst. And you haven't tried the worst until you've tried Borstwurst. So we're going through the Cysty Pig pens here, trying to see if we can make our way through without being discovered.
Performing
looks like we're going to be
error.
caught by this
Employee
mechanical here.
information not found.
So again,
Identify
because we have
yourself.
our holographic disguise, we're not attacked outright. We can talk our way through the situation. And it's not often you can intimidate a robot, so we're going to go and use that approach.
Error. This unit is not experiencing errors. Error. This unit is functioning correctly. There is no need for the intervention of mechanical engineers. Thank you for your cooperation.
So in this world, even robots want to avoid a trip to the doctor. So here, we'll talk your way past that. Again, because we survived that interrogation without alerting the enemies, our disguise was able to regenerate. But you can see that there's like 3 marks by the disguise meter at the bottom of the screen. We only get like 3 chances to talk our way past it through a different area. So, and each time the dialogue checks get harder and harder. So you really need to focus on your dialogue skills if you want to use your disguise to get through these dangerous situations. So here we've reached the control room for the canning facility. So the canning floor is where those delicious bacon tumors get processed into the various products and sold throughout the world of Monarch. And this gives us a great overview of the factory floor and allows us to really see what the enemies are. There's a decent number of guards and mechanicals there, as well as some workers who are wandering around. Now, that intercom, like if we've been focusing more on our dialogue skills, we might be able to talk our way past the situation. We've been focusing more on technology skills, and the first thing that we had Mark do is like bring the elevator to the ground floor so that we can reach Clive later on. And we've been focusing on hacking skill, and there's that pink slip protocol,
I think I soiled my
which, as you can see, changes the programming of the mechanicals. They've now been told to terminate the employment of the workers and factory workers, which they're taking very literally. So this is a bad day at the office for them, but a great opportunity for us. Now that there's chaos going on the canning floor, we'd have a better chance of making our way through. Poor guard there,
Aiming system
poor workers hiding
failure.
from the mechanicals. Wonder how long they'll survive.
Security.
So we got caught there, and Mark decided to go ahead and attack. In this case, we're using a heavy machine gun, which was actually modified using mods we found throughout the world. This is now doing shock damage rather than the normal damage type, and shock damage is especially effective against mechanicals. Luckily, mechanicals are also focused on taking out the remainder of the employees, so both the guards who have survived and the mechanicals are distracted fighting each other, so we get a chance to take out a headshot, take out one of the guards that way, and deal with the remaining threats in here.
They won't try that again.
That's correct. Oh, okay. So this is a live demo, so this is kind of showcasing one of the things that can happen as you're playing through the game. This is basically showing off our flaw system. And basically, while you're playing, the game is constantly monitoring what's happening to you and your party members. And based on the effects of what happens in combat or various situations, you might be offered a flaw. And the reason why this is a good thing for you is that if you decide to take a flaw, you get a bonus perk point, which allows you to power up your character beyond the normal process of leveling. Now, the cost of this, and this is the robophobia flaw, we apparently took enough damage from mechanicals in that combat to qualify for it, is that when you're fighting mechanicals in the future, you'll be afraid of them, so you'll suffer some penalties during combat. In this case, we're going to go and reject the flaw for the moment. We don't need to take one for this demo. But we've now dealt with the threats on the cannery floor, and we're going to make our way through the elevator up to speak with Clive. So again, Clive is the guy who runs this factory, and he's the one who's refusing to cooperate with Catherine back in Fallbrook. So she wants us to just shoot him in the face. Her favorite approach is a bullet. It's very direct. It's very no-nonsense. But we're not forced into that. Again, this is an RPG, and the story is one that you get to tell by what actions you take. So we're going to talk to Clive instead.
Whoa now. And just what do you figure you're doing up here? These are my private quarters, friend. I don't allow tours up here. I don't allow tours ever on deeper consideration.
So Clive's kind of a creepy guy. He's
Certain things
very much
require
into
a mess
making his
to
own
do well.
borscht by hand, which
See, I was just killing sometime. I prefer to prepare my dinner by my own hand. Nothing like fresh and bloody Borstwurst.
Can't imagine why Catherine's having a problem with this guy. He seems totally sane and reasonable, not at all creepy.
I do own a factory known for specializing in the canning of Borstwurst. On occasion, I like to imbibe other parts of the cysty pig. Did you fancy me a cannibal? Perish the thought. No,
So this
I
is
don't
another
eat
example of like
bodies,
the
I
dark humor we
disappear.
try to inject into
A
our
joke,
games.
that
That
last was.
even on something that this is kind
So,
of like a slice of life
what
side
can I
quest
do
of
for
the
you?
game, we want to
My
create characters that are
full
memorable that you
attention
enjoy
is at
interacting
your
with,
disposal.
even if they're a little bit creepy.
I kind of liked it when his attention was elsewhere.
While I approve of your associate's cautious nature, I still teeter on the verge of losing my patience. Let us move forward with the present proceedings.
So again, Catherine sent us here to kill this guy, and we could always just choose to attack him outright. But we're not forced into doing that. This is our choice, our story, and we can talk to Clive and see if maybe he has a counteroffer for us.
By sublight, you mean Catherine, do you not? That greedy, star-crossed sow. Listen, friend. The Borst King of Monarch does not negotiate with coveters. How about you bring me Catherine's severed head, and I will gift you a lifetime supply of Borst.
This is a pretty good offer. I mean, Catherine wants to give us money, which, let's be honest, money's always useful, but this is a lifetime supply of delicious bacon-flavored tumors. I mean, how do you pass that up? So at this point, we have a few options. We could attack Clive and honor our deal with Catherine. We could decide to betray Catherine and side with Clive instead, or maybe we could find a way to get the two of them to work together. And if we had enough dialogue skill, that might be a viable option. What happens next is going to be entirely up to you. We're going to end the demo here, and when the game comes out in October of this year, you get to decide what happens to Clive and Catherine. You get to decide how the story moves forward and how the game shapes itself. Thank you all.
Thanks.